tonight's menu, we're going to start off with a crostini that has a little bit of mushroom, artichoke, olive tapenade, and then we do a piece of burrata where we wrap prosciutto around that. And then we're going to move into our entree for the evening, and what it is it's some tagliatelle pasta a fatti mano, so it's pasta made by hand. So if you want to, you can use a pasta machine, but I'm actually going to make it with using this amazing pasta pit.
I thought you were going to play baseball.
Yes. Well, I'm actually pretty good. So we're going to start by braising our chicken that's going into our dish. And what we're going to be braising it with is white wine, red wine, a little bit of chicken stock. We have onions, fennel, carrots, a little bit of garlic. So first we're going to get, and we're going to do it in this Dutch oven. It's a cast iron. Nothing better than cooking with cast iron. Add a little oil. Season with salt and pepper. And then what we want to do is we want to make sure we bring our oil up to a smoke point. So we get that oil nice and hot. So really what we're just trying to do now is caramelize this chicken. We'll caramelize it on both sides. And then after that, we'll pull it out and add our mirepoix. Mirepoix technically is carrots, onion, and celery. We're just substituting fennel for that. All right, we got that working. And what's great about this recipe too is you can actually serve it as an entree, the leg and the thigh, this hind quarter. You don't have to shred it up or dice it up, put it in a pasta. You can actually serve it as a whole leg and thigh. And it's actually an extremely healthy way to eat the chicken. There's not a lot of fat in there. All right, pretty good. So then once we've got caramelization on both sides, what we're going to do is we're just going to pull out our chicken, set it aside for right now, and we're going to start to caramelize our vegetables. All right, so we got the carrots, the onion, and the fennel. We have some fresh thyme and a couple of fresh bay leaves. We have some smashed garlic. And then at this time, too, we'll season it a little bit with some salt and pepper.
Chef, can you explain why you would do a smashed garlic versus just the whole garlic in there? I've never seen people use whole garlic, sliced garlic, smashed garlic.
I like to use whole smashed garlic because what happens, it helps a lot of those flavors get released from the garlic. If you're just going to put a whole garlic clove in there, it takes much longer, and I don't think it's as effective as just smashing it a little bit. You get a lot more flavor, a lot more aroma by doing that. You could also do chopped garlic if you want, but I don't necessarily like to use chopped garlic because it is so small that it can tend to burn a little bit quicker. All right, so what I'm going to do, we just get a little color on that. All right, and now we're gonna deglaze it with our white wine and our pork.
What kind of white wine do you use? Do you
know,
use
it's
a sweeter, a drier? Does it matter?
It really depends on what you're doing. If you're gonna do more of a spicy dish, you might want to do a fruitier wine that's gonna give it a little more sweetness. This wine is definitely a drier wine, and you always want to, whenever you're cooking with wine, you always want to use wine that you'll actually drink. If you're not going to drink it, don't use it. Because it doesn't, once it reduces, all that does is that flavor, that wine will concentrate. So if you wouldn't even drink it, it's going to be 10 times worse when you cook with it. So all we're looking here is just to really to reduce out the alcohol or to have the alcohol evaporate. We don't want to, I'm not a big fan of flaming up the alcohol, because by flaming it up, not only is it burning off the alcohol, but it's also burning off any oils that are in there. So when that oil burns, it will leave a bad flavor behind. All right, so now since that alcohol is evaporated off or burned off, we're going to add some chicken stock.
Question over here.
The recipe, you're gonna let it sweat, what is that?
Let it sweat.
Yeah.
So basically what we're doing, just by letting it sweat, is you cook the vegetables nice and slow to where moisture starts to come off it. And that's called sweating.
So Chef, are those vegetables also going to be soft and tender as well?
Yes, they're going to be nice, soft, tender. A lot of the flavor is going to be coming out of it, concentrated. So what we're going to do is we're going to add this chicken back to it. And we're going to bring this back up to a boil.
So at this point, Chef, should you cover that, leave it open, or what's the best way to do that?
Well, you could cover it. It will come to a boil much faster if it's covered. But then what we're going to do is I'm going to put this in the oven. So we'll braise it. We'll braise it in the oven with the lid on it. This lid, of course, it's cast iron, so it's really heavy. It's going to have a nice tight close, so you're not going to get a lot of evaporation. So in the end finished product, because all the liquid in here, you're still going to use this for basically for the base of your sauce for your pasta. So now we're going to move on. While that's working, we're going to move on to actually make the pasta dough. And what we have is egg yolks, 8 ounces, 10 ounces of flour, and then some salt. The flour I like to use is 00 flour. It's an Italian flour that it has a much finer grind, and it's made for either pasta or pizza doughs.
Where would you find it?
You can find it at most specialty stores, most specialty grocery stores, like
Major market.
Exactly. There's some stores 00. So what we're going to do is we're going to just mound that in the middle. What we want to do is we just want to make a little well. Because it's a little well or a little bowl, so we can keep the egg yolk from running all over the table. And if you have a mixer at home, you could use a mixer for this if you don't want to do it by hand. But I like to get my hands dirty. All right. And then all we're going to do is we're going to take a fork.
Chef, I've got a quick question for you.
Yes.
Chef, in the event that the egg comes in different sizes, you have small, medium, and large, and also you have a liquid egg yolk at some of the specialty stores too.
Yes.
Can you use a liquid egg yolk?
You can use a liquid egg yolk, and that's really why, because eggs do come in different sizes. That's why we actually weigh out our yolk, and we don't just go by 2 or 3 egg yolk. We actually physically weigh it out, because then we know we're going to get the same consistent product. We'll weigh out the flour and we'll weigh out the yolk, and it's always the best way, because depending on the flour, it might be, Leo can tell you this, it could be really dense or it could be fluffy if you shift it. So the best way to do it is to weigh it out. All right, so all we're doing is we're working from the outside in and just adding a little bit of flour into the yolk at a time. And what we're trying to do is we're just trying to thicken it up so eventually we could just start really kneading this dough.
Chef, another quick question. Is there another flour that you'd be able to substitute for that 00?
Yes, you could. If you want to, you could just substitute AP flour, all-purpose flour is fine. But you can actually do all different kinds of things. If you had an almond flour, if you have a whole wheat flour, it doesn't really matter if you wanted to go that route. All right, so when we get to this stage to where the eggs are not going to run, what we're going to do is we're just going to take one of these bed scrapers and just try to incorporate that flour into the egg yolk. I like to try to get as dry as possible before my hands go in, just so I don't have not too much yolk all over my hands.
is where the fun starts.
This is where the fun starts. Reminds me of a little kid playing in the mud. Play-Doh. All right, so as soon as we start to get this all incorporated, then we could really start kneading it. And kneading is actually, it's probably the most important part about making the dough. Because what happens is the gluten in the dough, we really try to work it and make it tough and strong. So we'll actually give really nice bite to the pasta. We'll make a tougher bite to the pasta so it won't be too soft. And that's also why we'll let the dough rest. After we make it, we'll let it rest for about half an hour.
So Chef, another quick question. What's your reason for making such a stiff dough versus something that's going to be a little bit looser or a little softer?
Well, you can, for example, like a looser dough that's almost more like a batter. That would be more for like a spetzel, which is basically a free form kind of pasta that you would scrape into boiling water. This pasta is actually, this recipe is a pretty wet recipe, and I use it wet because when I make tortellinis or raviolis, I don't have to use egg wash or water to seal it. It will automatically seal. Man, this is a workout. My wife says I don't go to the gym, but I disagree. This is like the gym. All right. Yes. All right. So we'll just work it a little more. And really what you're looking for is when the dough springs back. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this in plastic wrap, set it aside for half an hour. All right. Half an hour later.
Bam!
I know time flies, but it's a little quick. All right. All right, so that's boiling. So then what I'll do is we'll go right into our amazing pizza oven here. Most of us don't have these at home, but if you do.
So another quick question for you, Chef. What other pot can you use in case you don't have that nice cast iron pot?
You can use any real heavy-duty pot that you may have. It doesn't have to be cast iron, but if you don't have a cast iron, something like this, a Dutch oven or anything, I would really look going to get one because they're just absolutely amazing things. They last a lifetime as well. So now we're going to do the fun part of rolling out the pasta. And really, all I'm trying to do is I want it to get almost paper thin.
So Chef, what about the flour? Do you need to constantly put flour on that dough to keep it from sticking? Is
You know
there
what?
a certain amount you need?
Normally I like to use a wooden table, which is it's a little bit better because it helps with the moisture than using something like marble, where the pasta dough will actually, it's easier for it to stick to the marble than say the wood. But not really. I don't want it to be too dry. I want it to be still a nice kind of moist dough. And I'm just trying to make it nice, even, round. It's an old family recipe that came back from Italy with my great-grandmother. And the best way to know if it's thin enough, what you want to do is you just want to hold it up to a light, which we have. And if you can see your hand, it's thin enough. And usually, if you're just making a noodle like I am, you want it to be a little bit thicker than if you're going to make a stuffed pasta. So if you're making a ravioli or a tortellini, you'd want it to be a little thinner for that. I'm just going to take my cutting board because I'm going to hand cut this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dust a little more flour. And I'm going to roll it up. And by doing this, it just gives you, it just helps with getting a little bit more of a consistent cut. And then I'll just roll these out, and we'll be good to go. So a pasta dough like this, that is an egg yolk based pasta dough, it doesn't last very long. If you were to, you can't make it the day before, it's got to be made the same day, because it will start to oxidize and it will turn green on you. But you can take dough balls, wrap it really tight in plastic and freeze it. It holds up pretty well. All right, so there we go. It's our pasta. All right, so we have chopped garlic, shallots, chopped chives, black and white pepper, black pepper and salt, some toasted pistachios that have been chopped, a little bit of chili flake, chopped parsley, our roasted chicken or our braised chicken, and some goat cheese. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with some oil and our butter. We're gonna add a little bit of the chicken that we have picked and diced. Our garlic, our shallots, and our chili flake. What I have here is I have my braising liquid. So this is the chicken stock, the pork, and the white wine that the chicken was braised in. And all we did is we reduced it a little bit more. And we're going to use that as the base of our sauce. All right, so I'm just going to add a little bit of that liquid that we braised the chicken in. And at this time, what we want to do is we want to take a lime, and we're just going to zest it with one of these fancy little microplanes that you can find at any kitchen store. We're just going to get a little bit of that lime zest in here, because we're looking really for that lime, that acid from the lime, a little bit of spice from the chili flake, the garlic, the nice rich chicken jus. And then we're also going to do a little bit of squeeze of some lime in here as well. Oh yeah. Season it. And then, it looks like our pasta's ready. So we don't want to cook the pasta all the way in the water. We still want to be able to, we want to cook about 20-25% in the sauce so that sauce flavor goes into the pasta. All right. So then at this time, what I'll do is, while it's reducing, we'll add some of the herbs. Chives, we got the chopped chives. And we got some of this chopped parsley. We're going to cook this down a little bit. And also, so the goat cheese, what we want the goat cheese to do, we want the goat cheese to actually kind of melt into the sauce to make it almost like a creamy consistency or texture for it. So we're going to just kind of break it up a little bit. And it's okay if you have some chunks in there, but really what we're looking for is to kind of help make the sauce with the goat cheese. So then what we do at this time is we pull out the chicken, because it is ready to go. So we can cool it down a little bit, just so it's a little bit easier to work with. All right, so what we got.
I'm not sure we covered your oven temperature when you put that pot in there.
Yeah, so the oven temperature, we really want about 450 degrees. We want it really hot. Yeah.